So how do we stop riding the health and fitness roller coaster? Well, let's start with some statistics and got some eye-opening statistics to start with here. Did you know a staggering 80% of people don't set goals for themselves? And out of the 20% who do, only 30% succeed. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a mere 6% of people achieve their goals. Why is this the case? What is it about the human psyche that makes goal setting and achievement of such a challenging endeavor? Let's address the elephant in the room. Like, why are the stats so bad? And what are we thinking? Well, everyone thinks goals are so boring, or nearly everybody does. There's a real reason we view them with this disdain, and there's a typical cycle that people kind of go through when they're talking goals. And I kind of agree with them. Bad goals are boring. Like, realistically, they're just a wish list for people. People set them with no system in place, likely to not achieve these goals. And when they inevitably don't, it causes them a real level of emotional distress, which then makes resetting and following through the next time even harder and even less likely. And it causes a really negative emotional cascade in the brain. Good goals, though, I actually think good goals are life changing. Like if you talk to somebody who has a goal that just motivates the crap out of them and they've stuck to a good system and achieved their desired outcome, and have they ever turned around to you and said, wasn't for me, wasn't good for them? It doesn't happen. Plenty of people set bad goals that they don't achieve. Plenty of people need better understanding around the processes to make good goals and life-changing goals. Like we know that people come to us and they know that they shouldn't eat highly processed foods. We know that they know they should drink less alcohol and reduce their coffee and probably move more and improve their sleep. But at Fifth Element, they come to us for a deeper understanding of the topics to add more tools to their tool belts and make informed choices about their health. So today, let's dive a little deeper to set ourselves up for success. And we're going to use our goals, get excited about them, to be our foundation to make long-lasting change and stop riding this roller coaster. So let's delve into a bit of physiology because we love to base a little bit of physiology for our foundational piece and our framework to be able to base our actions off. There's actually four major components in the brain that are going to, help us with understanding this foundation in terms of goal setting. You got your amygdala, your basal ganglia, your lateral prefrontal cortex, and your orbital prefrontal cortex. A mouthful. Give me 2 minutes. We'll get into them and make it easily digestible. So your amygdala, it's a small part of the brain, but it does a really big job. It's a major processing center for emotions. So it links our emotions to other brain abilities, especially memories, learning, and your senses. It's involved in a circuits associated with fear, anxiety, but it can also be involved in positive forms of arousal and learning. Basically put, it's going to help us evaluate how important this goal is for us. So that's really important. Secondly, the basal ganglia. It's a key part of a network of brain cells, but it's involved in your body's voluntary movements. It's also involved in decision making. It's going to help how we process and assess goals and risks. It also processes signals that affect our emotions. So that's really important for parts of our motivation. So it plays a key role in learning a habit, forming a habit, and planning and carrying out tasks. But more simply put, it kind of has two mechanisms, two major pathways. It's got a go pathway, which is about generating action. And then it's got a no-go pathway, which is about withholding or ceasing action. And in terms of formulating a new habit, and it's normally both of those things occurring simultaneously to some capacity. You've got your lateral prefrontal cortex. That's number three. It is involved in immediate and long-term planning. It helps us with our time perception with setting and achieving goals. So it's going to allow us to know where we are on the road of progress on our journey. Last but not least, number four, we've got the orbital frontal cortex. It's a multitasker. It's also involved in, your current emotional and arousal state. So how we feel in a given moment. It helps us understand context. Now that's really important. It'll see that we're anxious or know that we're frustrated, but it also knows that this is a really key component to developing change and actually making progress. So that's really, really important. Like in terms of a goal pursuit, it's like it's going to help us sense and be happy if we're seeing progress. It's also going to help and sense if we're unhappy for not achieving progress. All these structures communicate to each other and they communicate with other parts of the body, but these represent the core components of our goal setting and our pursuit. There's a whole bunch of you know, mistakes that people make, and I kind of just really want to touch on the top three. People go solo. They don't speak their goals. They don't tell anybody about their goals. They don't confide in anybody about their goals. And who you confide with is just about as important as actually creating that team around you, as actually speaking them. That's number one. You need accountability. Number two, their goals are really just a miracle list. They're too lofty, they're too high with too greater expectations. People need to actually put in really reasonable, achievable goals and sit down and think about what's realistic, or talk to a practitioner that can help them along that journey. Number three is it's a combination of their self-belief and thinking that they're under-resourced. And when it comes to goals, we want to really create a system that we can fall back on that has a whole bunch of things that are going to help us in these areas, which we'll get into in a second. Now, really want to quickly workshop this. There's sort of 8 or 9 pillars that are really important that are going to transform your goals from just a wish list into rock solid, life changing, you know, progress that you can sustain. Now, this could be 12 months, this could be 6 months, this could be 3 months, this could be 7 weeks. The system is still the same. And it's really important that we have this system. And the system is going to be our foundation that we create all the long lasting change of. So I want people to think of this as, a lot of people are like, you got to change your identity to get to where you need to go. I think that discredits all the amazing things about somebody that they already current have. And I guarantee there's already successful areas of their life that they're doing brilliantly at. So what we want to do is, I like to think of it as more of an expansion on your identity, rather than a full overhaul. So number one, we've got the umbrella approach. We need to start thinking macro. So don't limit yourself in this area. It's where do you want to be? What does that look like? What is the goal? It could be, I want to improve my health. It could be, I want to improve my finances, better relationships. It doesn't particularly matter. Don't limit yourself with the umbrella. It's there to get you macro thinking and getting your brain start to stimulate where it is that and the direction that you want to go. You want to write these down because the stats say that you're almost double the chance of achieving your goal if you write them down. There's talk of visualization. There's stats that say that it does and doesn't work. I think a really amazing tool is writing it down, looking at it frequently. And if you are going to still put that somewhere, change the direction of where it is daily so it actually stimulates you and just doesn't get put in the periphery of your mind like it does in certain rooms. Number two, we want to take this big macro idea or ideas and we want to funnel. We want to funnel it down to something really specific and really detailed, really clear and concrete. The question I would actually ask is like, what does success look like for you in this particular goal? Now, we might take a big umbrella topic. It's I want to improve my health. And then most people will be like, great, I need to funnel it down. Well, so I want to lose weight. It's a pretty common goal. Now, we want to get even more specific than that. We want to make it a SMART goal. I'm sure we've all heard about this acronym. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. It's to make it more clear and more concrete so that if it was a box, you could tick it to say that it's done at the end of the year. In this section, generalization will kill your goals. We need to be as specific as possible. So let's take that example. It's I want to improve my health. Now it's I want to lose weight. Now it's potentially I want to lose 10 kilos. And then at fifth element, we would do something which would be more body fat ratio bound rather than the kilos to really improve someone's health. But we can take the kilo specific nature. Then we want to put a time frame on it. 12 weeks, Christmas, doesn't matter. But it's really important we have a time frame and then even more specific, an actual date. And this helps us lead to and generate even more action. And this will become our outcome goal. And our outcome goal is just our end result. We then want to turn this outcome goal into a behavioral goal. Now, a behavioral goal focuses on changing specific behaviors or actions that are needed in order to achieve the outcome goal. So, like examples, we want to lose weight. We want to do it in 12 months. We want to do 10 kilos in 12 months. Sorry. So, that could be I'm going to walk for 30 minutes every day. Now we've just taken our outcome goal and put it into a behavioral practice, which is really important. Um, that and then we want to delve one layer deeper. We want to put in our actual schedule when we're going to do this specific practice. Now, that's where most people will inevitably fail. They won't go to this extra step, but this extra step is pivotal in actually realizing, does this goal and do these action steps actually fit into my life? Most people have their goal and they have their life, and they're not running congruently with each other. They need to be crossing over as one stream and one thing that we're doing for the year. And putting that specific action into your timetable allows you to assess what else is going on. Does it actually fit? Can I actually do it in the period that I want to? And is it realistic? If the answer is no, that's okay. It just means we either reevaluate the goal or we change our weekly schedule so that it can fit. And this might mean we need to resource out or do some things, but that's really important because what we want to do is set ourselves up for success. And then you should be able to look at your week and go, yes, this week is something I can do and something I can replicate because it's that level of consistency that's going to get us to the goal. So that's really important. So behavioral goals, slow and steady wins the race. Small keys a win. Small wins are key. They build confidence and momentum, which snowballs into a really positive mental state, which is what we love about them. Get specific with the time and the day and exactly when you're going to do it. Uh, and then figure out if you need to do things like stop and swap. So if I'm doing something in that period, do I have to stop and swap to make it actually applicable? And let's open up those calendars to get them done. Most people stop here, but there's more. Number four is something that we really love delving into, and it's called your emotional hot button. It's the real reason you're actually doing what you're doing. It is our biggest driver, which is going to give us the intrinsic motivation that we need when inevitably life gets difficult and tough things get in the way. So let's take our weight loss example. And the questions you would ask yourself are, what are the benefits of achieving these? What will they allow you to do when you reach your goal? How will your life genuinely improve? Day to day, week to week, what would you be able to do then that you wish you could? And how will this benefit your life? If you're really struggling, you just ask, why is this important to me? And then you ask yourself again, why? And more whys will definitely open up to help you out and get deeper in. Jeffrey, welcome to the chat and welcome to the first level up for 2024. Again, if we're stuck, we're just talking goals, Jeffrey, and I'm just into section 4, which is pretty much understanding your emotional hot button on goal setting. So the way I like to describe the emotional hot button is it's your genuine reason for doing what we're doing. And I've been using a weight loss example of, dropping 10 kilos, or common ones might be injury prevention. But if we delve deeper into an emotional hot button, like I'm happy to share mine for this year. I want to get in, I want to add a few kilos of muscle and be really proud of that. And I also want to be able to do a few different moves. I know we're working on it. I want to be able to do a pistol squat, and I want to be able to do like a bar muscle up and a few handstands and whatnot, which aren't great goals, if I'm being honest with you, because the actual true reason that I'm doing them is I've been with my partner for a long time and we've just had a kid and he's, just over a year old. I still wanted to kind of have the hots for me, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's the real reason I want to put on a few kilos of muscle. It's not really the muscle, it's not really how I look, it's kind of how she views me, which is really important to me. And while I really care about the pistol and the muscle up, I care more about what it represents on how my body can perform, which is, my son Tommy's 15 months old and he's just running around like an absolute monster. And he's hard enough to keep up with as it is. I really want to bulletproof my body and not be injured like I have over the last 5 years so that I can be the fun dad that can keep up with his kid when I know he's going to get so much harder from what I hear than he is currently. So I want to make sure my body's strong and vibrant. I've got the energy to keep up with a kid who seems to have no limits on the energy that he currently has. And that's my actual emotional hot button or hot buttons for my driver behind training this year. And when it gets cold and when it gets dark, that's the thing I'm going to think about to get myself to the gym. Um, Once we've found the benefit, and the benefit's important, like super important, we need to figure out the negative, and it's called the cost of inaction. The stats tell us that fear is a much better driver and motivator than positive, and especially getting started. So proving someone wrong or a fear of what is to come. So whether someone's on their journey now or whether they're just starting out, like I want you to think sort of, especially for you, Jeffrey, it's, where you were years ago before your trajectory had changed in the health and wellness sector, or if we just get derailed this year for whatever reason, because life happens and life's pretty challenging. What happens if nothing changes and we're back in that state? You know, what happens to your health and fitness if that trajectory happens? What happens to your posture if we can't come to the gym or if we don't go to the gym? What happens to our weight? How much do we gain? How much do our joints ache? Where's our mental health at, in 12 months if that happens? In terms of our sleep, what's that going to look like? How stressed will we potentially be? How's it going to negatively impact our relationships, potentially our career? And then I want people to pause and think, well, what if that's what happens after 12 months? What's actually going to happen in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is hard to project out, but there'll be people in your life that you can visualize, and there'll be events that are occurring that will hit home that you won't want to occur in your life. And that is the true cost of inaction. You're 10 times more likely to achieve your goal. In contrast of doing benefit and negative or the cost of, rather than just thinking of the benefit all the time. So when winter hits, and it will hit, and it'll be cold and it'll be dark and it'll be wet, and the sun won't rise till 7:30 or whatever it is here in Melbourne, and it'll be 8 degrees. I'll be thinking of both of those things about what happens if I don't do anything and I can't play with my son, as much as what will happen if I keep doing what I'm doing and I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, for as long as, you know, my body will hold up while he's doing what he's doing. And that's a real driver for me. Couple more to get through and then we'll open the floor. Number six, once you've achieved those and you've got them down on paper and they're crystal clear, you got to map out your roadblocks. If I could question it there, it'd be like, what's one or two things that you can forecast that may derail your success this year? What are they? And once we've figured that out, it's what's the solution going to be? Or what are potential solutions? Two things happen. Just by preempting things, you're more likely to find a solution for them. And then if we actually find a roadmap for them and a system, it gives us an opportune chance to make the absolute best possible chance of success. And you're going to get roadblocks and you're going to get many of them. Could be busy work schedule, could be kids not sleeping, could be just getting unwell. It could be travel for work. It could be a holiday. It could be family come and visit. That's a beautiful one that happens all the time. We actually want to welcome these roadblocks. The idea is the more roadblocks we have over a period of time, it could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, the more you have and the more you analyze them to come up with solutions for them, what we like is tools for your toolkit. It means that the next time that they come up, you have a default strategy to keep on track with whatever it is that you want while having a backup plan. Because one thing that we know is often you can't rise to the standard that you want ongoing often enough, as much as you will fall to the current system that you have. So we need to make your system as rock solid as possible so that when you default and fall to it, it still holds you accountable for a successful journey. All right. Number seven, it's all about accountability. You need people in your corner. We were just talking before, it's one of the biggest mistakes is people going solo. It's hard enough to get to your goals with a team, let alone on your own. So pick your team wisely. It could be a coach. Jeffrey and I train together. It could be a partner. It could be a family. It could be a best mate. It doesn't matter. But you need people to hold you accountable to get you to your goal. And it's not just wishy-washy, like actually have the buy-in, have the conversation, so that they can actually help you on your endeavor to get you to where you need to be. Like one of the things I would recommend is once you finish writing your goals, and you can use today's segment to do that, write them out, send them to your coach or your loved one or both, and have them check in on you regularly to see how you're going in response to that. And you'll be amazed at how much better you do and how much more you achieve this year with that mentality. The last thing that people need to do, you need to break things down into mini milestones. So if we're projecting out 12 months, we would then have a 6 month plan, and then we'd break it down into quarters from there. And then we'd have monthly segments on how to get people there. But you need to celebrate. You need to celebrate your wins. You need to celebrate them often, and you need to generate that positive momentum. People think I'll be happy when I reach X, whatever that goal is. It's often not the case. And it's often they're unhappy along the way, which is a poor system, which means they don't reach their goal anyway. You need to find happiness in the progress. And people have found over, the thousands of people I've trained are happier with progress than they are with perfection. And a lot of people's outcome goal is aiming for this lofty task. And I'm not saying you shouldn't aim for it at all, but if you have many milestones along the way, you'd be surprised at how amazing it is to feel the wins and the progress that you have along the way. Last thing is you need to analyze what you're doing. You need data. Some people need less, some people need more, but it's not just the data, because that allows us to make adjustments to our plan to make sure it's heading in the right direction. It's how we view data. And a lot of people are doom and gloom about getting on the scales or following a system or tracking certain things. Everything you do, you want it to be a positive experience. The more negative a connotation you have with anything that you're doing in the health and fitness realm, the less likely you're going to be able to sustain that for the long term. And that's where most restrictive plans sort of come in, and most restrictive eating habits and lots of overtraining kicks in for a lot of people. It does two things. It rewires their brain to think, I have to do this to get the result I want. And two, it's normally too much to handle, and it doesn't actually teach them the tools that they need. So when people assess with us in the studio, it's if they get a result that's moving in the direction that they want, amazing. Most people just kind of stop there. But what you want to do is actually delve a layer deeper, which is what has been working in the last phase to get us, a step or two forward. And how has that happened? And how has that occurred? Really important data, because it lets us track when we're going well, what is actually the thing or things that are helping us do well, which most people tend not to do. Gives us more data to work with. If things don't move in the direction that you want, you know what? That's okay too. Because the art of showing up and being consistent, honestly, is half the battle. And if you do that more often than not and stack enough of those phases together, you will get close to the goal that you're after. But inevitably, you do the same thing. What hasn't worked for us this month? What's been a genuine roadblock? What do we need to do then to create a solution so that we can then turn that into a tool for our tool belt, so that if it happens in the next month, 3 or 6, we then have a default strategy and a default system to fall back on, which means we increase our likelihood of success along those goals. And I guarantee if people follow those sort of 7 steps or 8 steps, they'll see monumental change in the likelihood of them achieving their goals. And I'll just recap them for you, Jeffrey, because you came in halfway through. So it's we need to find an umbrella approach. We need to get big macro thinking that doesn't have limitations to allow you to really freely think about the direction that you want to go in without any limitations. We then need to funnel it down into something really specific, an outcome-based SMART goal, right? That needs to be crystal clear and concrete so that you can tick a box whenever the said time period is done and you know exactly what that represents. We then turn that outcome goal into behavioral specific goals and practices that you can do. So it's, I want to lose weight or gain strength becomes I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for 45 minutes, or I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day, or whatever that may be. We then take that goal and then we actually put them into an action plan into your schedule. So we know that it can actually be achieved in the week, which again is where most people get caught out. From there, we're going to find our emotional hot button, the true driver behind why we're doing what it is that we're doing. Then we're going to find our cost of inaction and figure out what is the actual negative that may occur if nothing happens. Then we want to find our roadblocks. We want to find as many as we can to build out solutions. We're going to get some accountability and some support. We're going to collect some data and celebrate our wins. And then we're going to analyze every single phase, whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly. The more we do it, the less intense the analysis is. The less we do it, the more intensive it needs to be. And the whole broad concept of it is to give people more data and more tools so they can make more informed choices about the goals that they're making to set themselves up for success for the long term. All right. Do you have any questions?
Apologies for being late, Sam.
That's
I'm
okay.
actually at work and I was in the middle of an assessment and talking about the cost of inaction. I was just assessing a man who's severely depressed, who's 10 years older than me and has had a stroke, and that's why he's become depressed. And so I was thinking the whole time, kind of it distracted my own mind, thinking, gosh, this could be me, or this could have been me had I not decided to get serious. It's that cost of inaction, I think, is a really good driver.
Yeah, no, and thank you for sharing. It's a tough story. And I don't like to get super into the negative all the time, but in terms of health markers, I think people sweep a lot of things under the rug and would rather not
Mm,
think about the potentiality of things that may occur.
mm.
Um, and I think if we could actually, we can't, but if we could forecast where people were actually going with the habits that they've got, I think they'd make much, much more informed choices about what they're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even listening to this guy, I didn't feel the fear of inaction. I was thankful that I've taken action
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
rather than being scared into doing it, which I was scared into doing it in the first place, having gotten sick and ending up in hospital. So yeah, it's a good reminder.
Yeah. And yeah, I think people think they need it and they need a system, right? They often think their lofty outcome goal may be too far away, which is why we
Mm,
need to break things down into really manageable steps,
yeah.
and just analyze it often. Like you need to go through the detail rather than just, training, moving, and potentially eating. And I'm not that I'm ever against people trying, love people trying, but I just want to set people up for success. And success just means you need a system.
Mm.
Um, yeah, you've got, I think you've done an incredible job of changing your trajectory, which is no small feat.
Fingers crossed. On
Oh,
the way.
on the way, mate. You're doing a fantastic job. Any takeaway from that last little section that we were just going through? I know you came in sort of halfway through.
Yeah, I like the kind of that last point you made about the analyzing and the details. I'm so nerdy. I've got everything down on spreadsheets and tracking everything. And I find that really motivating because you can see your progress then. And like it's worth it. If I do this one extra session at the gym this week, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'll be really pleased. in terms of looking overall how you're going.
Yeah. Oh, and you do a fantastic job. Like I think, goals is all about trade-offs a lot of the time. And
Mm,
you just need the data. And some people need more and some people need substantially less. But having none makes it really difficult to make adjustments around what's working, what's not working. Um, so yeah, the more we can get and the earlier we can get it, the better it can be.
I like Ellen. I like your comment you just posted as well about that balanced approach. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, we think we were talking the roller coaster. Like if people just project it out a little bit, and instead of it trying to be a 6 or a 12-week overhaul, they could really set themselves up over 12 months. And it
Mm.
seemed a long way away. And I get that, but it happens like that. Before we
Oh
know,
yeah.
it'll be 12 months, and you know, you set yourself up to get all these small wins rather than having to do that full overhaul, which is just such a tough lifestyle adjustment. And
Mm,
that say that, yeah, you actually limit your chances of success in doing that.
mm. I said to a friend on the weekend, I said, I wish I could take how I'm feeling now after 12 months of being really, really consistent and committed, put it in a pill so that and give them that pill. And they can only have that pill once, but they'll get a taste for what it'll be like in 12 months, which would then
Mm.
motivate them. Might be onto something. I might have to talk to a pharmaceutical company, maybe.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. When you do, let us know.
Oh, I'm going to make a lot of money.
Oh, beautiful team. I'm not gonna. And by the way, thanks everyone for joining. First one of the year. Really excited. Um, if I could leave you with a couple of things, it would be exactly what we're talking on. Focus on the long game. Definitely reverse engineer your goals from the long game and check in regularly with someone or some ones to help you set yourself up for success. The big thing I like, it's success is not about consistently rising to our standards, but it's having a amazing robust system to actually fall back on. And that's the thing that's actually going to set you up for success in the long term.
Mm.
Thank you very much for joining me tonight, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you hopefully both next week.